Hello and welcome back. Today we're talking about something near and dear to my heart, adult ballet intensives. Whether you've been thinking about going to your first one or you're an intensive veteran who just wants to make sure you're not forgetting anything, this episode is for you. I'm going to walk you through everything: what to do the week before, how to pack, what to wear on your feet, and this part alone could save you a lot of suffering, trust me. And then we're going to talk about how to actually navigate the week of the intensive itself: mindset, body care, social stuff, all of it. And I've also included a free checklist for packing in the show notes. My hope is that by the end of this episode, you feel really prepared and excited, and maybe even pick up a tip or two you hadn't thought of before. This is going to be a fun one, so let's get into it. Okay, so let's say it's about a week out from the intensive. You're excited and maybe a little nervous, and it's getting close. The way I think about this week is that it's a prep week, not a peak performance week. For me, the whole goal is to show up to the intensive feeling as good as possible, not to arrive worn out because I tried to cram in a bunch of dancing right before. And that brings me to my first recommendation. I totally understand the impulse to go as hard as you can before you leave. But here's the thing: your body needs to be rested before going into a week of high volume training. You're not going to radically improve your dancing or your stamina in the 6 or 7 days before you get there. But what you can do is arrive energized. For me, that looks like dialing back the intensity a little bit. If I normally take 4 classes a week, I'll do 2 or 3 lighter ones that week instead. Nothing super intense, no heavy cross training, and no new point work. Nothing that's going to leave my legs sore going in. I think of it kind of like tapering before a race. Then the sweet spot for me is 3 days of rest before the intensive starts, only foam rolling, icing, and light activity like walking. And while pulling back on training, I really lean into sleep this week because our bodies repair themselves when we rest. I try to go to bed a little earlier and get 8 or 9 hours if I can. And I know that sounds indulgent, but you're about to put your body through a lot. And honestly, showing up well rested might be the single best thing you can do for your dancing. If you're traveling and crossing time zones, it also really helps to start shifting your sleep schedule a couple days early so you're not a zombie on day one. Hydration is another one that I'm really intentional about in the days leading up because it matters more than most of us realize. I try to start hydrating seriously at least a week before I leave, not just drinking when I'm thirsty, but actively drinking more than I think I need to. By the time you feel thirsty, you're already behind. A good baseline is roughly half your body weight in ounces of water per day, and then even more when you're active and sweating. And plain water just isn't enough. We need minerals to actually hydrate our cells and organs and to maintain our energy levels. Dehydration is often the reason we feel abnormally fatigued or get muscle cramps. So to prevent that, I add electrolytes to my water bottle each day that week. I'll get into electrolytes more in a little bit, but I find that starting that habit early means I'm already set up for success when the intensive starts. On the fueling side, the week before is absolutely not the time to undereat. You need energy stored in your muscles, and that comes from food. I make sure I'm getting at least 100 grams of protein every day, and not skimping on healthy fats either, since they help with inflammation and recovery. Focus on eating real food in generous proportions and not skipping meals. Okay, now for the fun part: outfit planning. Something I always do the week before is sit down and plan what I'm wearing each day, because as a type A person, the thought of standing in front of my suitcase on the day I leave, trying to figure that out, is my nightmare. To decide what I want to bring, I think about what pieces make me feel confident and comfortable, because you're going to be wearing those clothes for hours. And I also make sure I've got my layers planned: something to warm up in at the start of class and throw on during breaks. And if the intensive includes a photo shoot, which a lot of them do now, and they're so fun, I also pick that outfit out intentionally. For ideas on photo shoot outfits, make sure you listen to episode 112 with dance photographer Katie Ging. And remember that you can really do anything you want style-wise. A tutu, a flowy dress, or something more modern and bold. That's what I did last year. Just make sure you think through everything you need to bring your vision to life, including accessories if you need them. And the last thing I always do the week before I leave is a snack run. At an intensive, you'll burn through energy at a rate you might not be used to. And the last thing you want is to be stuck without fuel between classes. I stock up on all my favorites, and I also grab a solid supply of electrolytes. Whatever format you like, packets, tablets, a drink mix, I just make sure I have enough for every day plus a few extra. If you're flying and short on luggage space, you can also shop for snacks once you arrive. But I do recommend at least bringing your personal essentials in case you can't find them locally when you get there. All right, so let's talk packing. The goal here is to pack smart, not so light that you're missing things you need, and not so heavy that you're dragging around a giant suitcase of things you don't actually need. When it comes to clothes, here's how I like to think about it: one outfit per day of dancing plus a backup. So if your intensive is 5 days, that's 6 leotards as your base. If you're someone who thinks they might want to change midday, then that number might need to be higher. But personally, I never change during the day because fighting my way out of a sweaty leotard on lunch break just is not worth it to me. And also remember that you can hand wash your leotards in the sink or shower if you need to rewear them. The same goes for tights. I plan on a pair a day plus one extra, knowing that I can hand wash and rewear if needed. And again, if your intensive has a photo shoot, remember to pack an outfit for that. For warm-ups, I recommend making sure you've got a few options with you: leg warmers, a knit wrap, a sweatshirt. You just never know how cold the studio will be when you arrive. And in my experience, it's always better to have too many layers than not enough. And lastly, don't forget a few outfits for outside the studio. You'll likely be going out to eat and socializing in the evenings, and you'll want to have something comfortable for that. And if your intensive is hosting a formal dinner, make sure you also have an outfit packed for that, including the accessories and shoes you'll want to wear with it. Thank you to Orza for sponsoring today's episode. Ballet asks a lot of our bodies, and our feet are often the first place we feel it. Especially as adult dancers, balancing our training with busy lives, old injuries, long days, and limited recovery time, taking care of ourselves really matters. And that's why I love Orza ballet slippers. Orza was created by professional dancer Seth Orza, who experienced firsthand the need for better, smarter slippers. After developing severe plantar fasciitis, he created the first ever patented shock-absorbing ballet shoes designed to support your body with modern footwear technology while still maintaining the traditional ballet aesthetic. Because they're designed to help reduce fatigue, improve stamina, and prevent injuries, you can focus more on your dancing and less on pain management. I started wearing the Orza Pro 2.0 earlier this year and have never looked back. The shock absorption has virtually eliminated chronic pain in my right foot, and they've made such a difference in how I feel both during and after class. If you're an adult dancer like me, you know how important it is to take care of your body so you can keep doing what you love. Visit orzabrand.com and use code AFTERCLASS5 for $5 off your new favorite ballet slippers. Links included in the show notes. Now on to recovery products. This is the part that a lot of dancers skip when packing and then really regret by day 3. Compression socks are a non-negotiable for me. I wear them on travel days and in the evenings after classes. They help with circulation and reduce swelling, and your legs will thank you. I recommend bringing at least 2 pairs. And I always bring a foam roller. I know it's bulky and annoying to pack. I totally get it. But luckily they do make mini foam rollers now specifically for travel. I actually just bought one and I'm loving it. And not just for travel, but also for taking back and forth to my normal classes. And I promise you, especially if you're someone who normally foam rolls at home, having it in your hotel room every night is going to make a real difference in how your body feels, especially later in the week. Beyond that, think about a massage ball for your feet, KT tape or athletic tape if you use it, and arnica gel or a muscle rub. And while we're talking about recovery items, bring a proper foot care kit: blister pads, bandages in a few different sizes, and a nail file, and whatever topical treatments you rely on. The golden rule here is to deal with something the minute it starts. A hot spot, a forming blister, address it immediately and don't wait until it becomes a real problem. A tiny blister on the second day that you ignore can turn into something that derails your whole week by day 4. Take care of your feet and they will take care of you. When it comes to packing snacks, pack more than you think you need. Good options are nuts and nut butter packets, protein bars, dried fruit, dark chocolate, and whatever your personal favorites are. Also, make sure you bring a reliable, reusable water bottle that has some kind of distinguishing mark, like a sticker or your name written on it, so it doesn't get confused with the fellow dancers. Trust me, at intensives, there are a lot of water bottles laying around. And one more thing to toss in your bag: a small notebook and pen. You're going to receive so much information during the intensive, and I promise you, by day 3, your brain is going to be completely full and you will not remember anything from earlier in the week. So take a couple minutes after each class to jot down the corrections you received, something you learned, an exercise you want to revisit at home. And I also really recommend journaling your reflections, emotions, and highlights of the day every evening before bed. It feels a little nerdy in the moment, but when you get home, it's such a gift to be able to reflect back on the week. And don't forget, if you think you might not remember all of this, I've included a free packing checklist for you in the show notes. Okay, let's talk about footwear. This deserves real attention because your feet are literally your instrument, and the choices you make here matter a lot. For your ballet slippers, bring what you know. Whatever you're most comfortable in, that's what you should pack. This is not the week to break in anything new. For Pointe shoes, if you're taking Pointe classes at the intensive, really think strategically about what you want to bring. My personal preference, and this is just what works for me, is to bring two pairs with different levels of break in. I like having one pair that's broken in and a bit softer, and then a pair that's pretty new and hard, worn for only one or two classes. Having the option to switch depending on how your feet feel on a given day is so helpful. You really don't want to be stuck with only one option all week. And make sure you also factor in how quickly your shoes die. If you're like some professionals who go through a pair a day, you'll obviously need to bring more shoes than someone like me who can wear the same pair for several weeks. Also consider the weather at the location of your intensive. High humidity will break down your shoes faster, so take that into account when you're packing. Before I leave, I always do any gluing needed on my softer pair and sew and break in the new pair. And of course, make sure you have your toe pads and accessories. For footwear outside of the studio, the last thing your feet need is to be crammed into uncomfortable shoes after hours of dancing. You'll probably be walking to dinner and maybe exploring a little if you have a free evening, so I always make sure I have sneakers I know and trust, ones with actual art support and cushioning. Flip flops might be easy, but they offer zero support and don't allow your feet to recover. And on that note, I have to mention Ants Recovery sneakers. This isn't sponsored, but if you've been listening to this podcast, you know how much I love them. They're specifically designed for recovery, which makes them absolutely perfect for something like an intensive. They have arch support and a wide toe box so your feet can really spread, and they come with ice packs that slip into a special little compartment so you can ice your feet while you walk around in the evenings. I didn't wear anything else at my last intensive and will definitely be packing them again. I'll link them in the show notes if you're interested. Okay, so the week is here. You're packed, you're rested, you're hydrated. So let's talk about how to actually navigate the week. And I want to start with something that I think matters as much as anything physical, and that's the social side of the intensive. Because here's what I know. Everyone walks through that door carrying a little bit of insecurity. Everyone is worried about meeting new people or that they won't have anyone to talk to on breaks or sit with at lunch. In fact, I'll share something that happened to me a while back. I was attending an adult ballet event and I went by myself. I was nervous about not knowing anyone, but I spotted a small group of dancers who were chatting together, so I walked over, smiled, and tried to start up a conversation. And they just didn't really engage. It was polite, but clearly closed off, and I ended up just awkwardly going back to my spot. And I'll be honest with you, it stung a little and felt kind of like high school, like walking up to a lunch table and not being let in. So I share that as a reminder. We've all felt that sting, and we all have the power to make sure no one else feels it if we can help it. If someone approaches you at an intensive, welcome them in. If you see someone standing alone, go say hi. If you're mid-conversation with friends and a newcomer approaches, open the circle, because the connections you make at intensives can be some of the most meaningful ones in your whole ballet journey. These are your people, so go in with openness. Be the one who smiles first. You'll be so glad you did. So now, shifting to logistics, I'll share what's worked really well for me across several intensives. You'll probably develop your own rhythm over time, but maybe this can give you a place to start. Something that makes a really big difference for me is giving myself plenty of time in the mornings. I don't set my alarm for the last possible minute. I want time to wake up slowly, have real breakfast, get my stuff together without rushing, and get to the studio early, especially on day one. That first day, I always give myself extra time to find the studio, figure out transportation, learn the layout, find the bathrooms, etc. Arriving flustered is not the vibe. Arriving with plenty of time to warm up and use the bathroom before class starts, that's the vibe. I also really try to take advantage of the social opportunities between and after classes. Sitting with someone new at lunch, complimenting a classmate you admire, going out to dinner with fellow dancers. Those in-between moments are where so much of the good stuff happens. Yes, you're tired. Yes, your feet hurt. But you're surrounded by people who understand this thing you love in a way that most people in your regular life probably don't. I try to soak that up as much as I can. And when I get back to my room at night, I go into full recovery mode. Foam rolling, icing anything that needs it, and journaling or reading to wind down. And speaking of icing, a tip for those staying in hotels, an empty trash can makes a great ice bucket. I just take it to the ice machine, fill it up, add some water, and soak my feet and ankles in it in the bathtub. It's not glamorous, but it is absolutely effective. And the difference you'll feel in the morning is huge. So go ahead and use whatever vessel is available to you. The trash can works great. In regard to food, it's so important to make sure you're eating full meals and snacks in between. You're burning a tremendous amount of energy. And if you underfuel, you'll feel it in your dancing, your focus, your mood, and your ability to actually retain what you're learning. I make sure I have breakfast before class, and not just coffee. I actually eat my snacks between classes. I eat a real lunch on break, and I eat dinner even when I'm tired or it's hard to find a place. And I keep up with hydration and electrolytes throughout the day. Every class, every break. Like I mentioned earlier, when you're sweating that much, you're losing minerals, not just water. And plain water alone will not cut it, so don't skip your electrolytes. And finally, and this might honestly be the most important thing I share today, I really try not to put too much pressure on my dancing during the intensive week. And I know that feels counterintuitive. You've invested time and money and energy into this. Of course you want to dance well. But here's what I've learned from doing multiple intensives. You'll have good classes and you'll have bad classes, exactly like every other week of your life. Some classes, the combinations will click and you'll feel great. Other classes, you'll struggle a bit and feel frustrated. Both are completely normal, and both are part of the learning process. I also want to normalize the fact that intensives can bring up a lot emotionally. You're in a high stimulus environment, especially if you're an introvert. You're physically exhausted. You might be away from home, and you're probably putting a lot of meaning on this experience, which makes sense because it required a lot of money, planning, and effort to be there. It's completely normal to feel overwhelmed at some point during the week. Maybe a hard class hits differently than it would at your home studio. Maybe you're just tired and your feelings are closer to the surface. Give yourself grace. Step outside for fresh air if you need to reset. And if you end up crying in the bathroom at some point, absolutely no judgment. I think most of us have been there at least once. You're not failing, you're just processing a lot. Personally, the more I can let go of the need to dance my best every single minute, the more open I am to learning. And that's really what this week is for, to learn, to grow, to connect with incredible teachers and fellow dancers, and to really enjoy this art form, not to prove anything to anyone. Going in curious, going in with a growth mindset, going in grateful just to be there. That's when I've gotten the most out of it. Okay, I think that covers everything I wanted to share with you today. So just to recap, the week before, pulling back on training, prioritizing sleep, getting your hydration and fueling dialed in, planning your outfits and stocking up on snacks and electrolytes. Packing, you're going to pack your outfits for every day, your photo shoot look, warm-ups, all your recovery products, including that mini foam roller, your foot care kit, and a little notebook for class notes. For footwear, you need your slippers. Think strategically about your Pointe shoes, and make sure you have supportive shoes for outside the studio. And then the week of, make sure you're being friendly, giving yourself time in the morning, doing your recovery routine every night, eating more than usual, and releasing the pressure to be perfect. And I'll leave you with one last thing. When the intensive is over, give yourself some grace on the other side. A lot of us experience the post-intensive blues. You've been living in this incredible bubble, totally immersed in ballet and surrounded by people who love it as much as you do. And then suddenly you're back in regular life and it can feel kind of sad. That's completely normal. Plan something gentle and enjoyable for yourself in the days after. A massage, dinner with a friend, some quiet time to look through your photos and read the notes you took. Let yourself come down slowly. You've put a lot into this experience, and it's okay to feel a lot coming out of it too. I really hope this episode was helpful. If you have an intensive coming up, I am so excited for you. Embrace the experience fully and have a wonderful time. And if this episode was useful, send it to a ballet friend who's getting ready for their own intensive. All the products I mentioned are linked in the show notes, including the packing checklist, which you can download for free. Until next time, take care of those feet, drink your water, and enjoy your intensive. I'll see you next time after class. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd love for you to share it with a friend or leave a quick review. It really helps more adult dancers find the podcast. All the links and resources we mentioned today are waiting for you in the show notes. And if you want more adult ballet content in between episodes, come hang out with me on Instagram @thebusybunhead. See you next week after class.